Playgrounds are often a place of joy for kids of all ages, but not always accessible to those with different abilities. Well, a new support group in Washington is working to raise funds to get a new playground built that will be suitable for kids of all abilities. Senior reporter Dave Foster and photojournalist Dave Novak tell us their story.
This is Katie Hunt. She's 8 years old and lives in Washington and attends Washington Community Intermediate School just across from Longfellow Park. As you can see, she uses a wheelchair, and she told First City Focus she just wants to be able to play with her sister.
We can't go to parks because I can barely do anything. I just have to watch my sister and play.
Katie lives with segmental spinal dysgenesis, a rare spinal abnormality giving her different abilities than most. Her mom, April, founded a support group in Washington for families with special needs. It's called Comforting Hearts, and they had their first meeting in March. And it was at that meeting the discussion was started about a new playground in the city of Washington.
She can't roll around too much on the mulch and rock whenever there's playgrounds, and when we get there, the equipment is not suitable. We have really nice parks in our town. It's just that there's not anything that's all-inclusive for children of all abilities.
Soon, the Comforting Hearts group morphed into a movement to build an all-inclusive playground. Longfellow Park does have a playground that is ADA accessible according to the American with Disabilities Act. However, as families like the Hunts learn, ADA compliant does not always mean accessible or all-inclusive.
She struggles with the mulch. She would not be able to get up in the jungle gym. She would not be able to go over to the swings. She would not be able to get into the chair over there.
When visiting parks throughout southern Indiana, April and Katie say sometimes the ADA equipment has been damaged.
We used to go to another park, but then they have swings for different ability people, but then to people, adults and children who do not have a different ability are in them or they break them. So we quit going completely to parks because there's nothing for her to do. And her sister has even said, you know, if Katie can't play, I don't want to go to the park and play.
This is Christina McCullum Davis and her daughter, Tala. They are part of the Comforting Hearts group. Christina serves as the group secretary. Tala is also in a wheelchair and has one of the most severe forms of muscular dystrophy known as Walker-Warburg syndrome. It affects the muscles, brain, and eyes. Tala also cannot experience play at most parks. She needs assistance to get to the equipment and then cannot interact with it.
For Tala, she really isn't able to do anything as far as physically. She is very fully dependent on me. So I have to use my hands to help her play and touch and feel things. And to move her around, I would have to lift her up out of her chair to get into like a handicap accessible swing. So it's very important for her, because she needs full body support, to be able to stay in her wheelchair, to be able to swing in like a wheelchair accessible chair.
And since Tala is also visually impaired, she needs sensory options while at play.
Things that make sound, something that she can touch and feel, things that have different textures on it. It's really important for her to be able to experience the world, because she doesn't experience the world like we do.
In a letter to community leaders seeking support for the all-inclusive playground, Comforting Hearts explains that it's widely documented that non-inclusive recreational facilities increase the segregation of kids with disabilities, adding to the negative stigma they suffer. That's something that Pastor Adam Conder and his congregation at Washington Free Methodist Church learned when the Hunts began attending there. They were happy to sponsor the Comforting Hearts group, having them operate under the umbrella of the church until Comforting Hearts attain their own 501c3 status.
You know, my heart is really that all people are known and loved. And that's the heart of our church as well. And so when we found out that there was a segment of the community that was not known and loved, that there was, that they didn't have everything that perhaps so many other children have, we just jumped in with both feet.
Comforting Hearts did their research and solicited and obtained bids. It was no surprise for those who live in disability world that the cost is much higher for equipment and material when they're labeled special needs.
Because it has to do with different abilities, anything that has to do with a child with different abilities or an adult, you're paying twice as much. So the playground is going to cost us more just because we have to fit it for every child. Where a regular playground, they don't have to, they just put their mulch down and maybe a few swings. You're gonna get a lot cheaper.
The group met with the Washington City Park Board, which understands the need for the new playground and is receptive and helpful. First City Focus spoke with Washington Park Board President Jeff Stoner, who told us they're all for the project, but public funds are limited. He said they keep the lines of communication open and support the group in its fundraising efforts, and pointed the group to those who know how to ask for grant money.
We have a gentleman named Steve Saxeter that is writing grants for us, trying to help us raise money for the all-inclusive playground. We just sent in a grant for ROI Ready for $220,000 to help us build this all-inclusive playground.
The price tag was originally over $450,000, which is what you'll see on some flyers and documents. But April told us after the current playground layout was finalized, the cost now is estimated at around $403,000. That includes a critical aspect costing $200,000, which is a mobility rubber base, allowing for wheelchairs to move around freely and for kids to be able to roll around when needed, something the ADA required wood chips or mulch are not conducive for. Around $22,000 of the cost would be for needed fencing, benches, and other related components. Some of the specific plans include an all-accessible playground gym where a child in a wheelchair, walker, or crutches can enter the gym. Sensory objects will be located throughout for those with autism and hearing and vision issues. There'll be a teeter-totter where a child with different abilities can sit in the middle to experience the sensation while others on the ends make it go. There'll also be a flat merry-go-round allowing a wheelchair to roll up and the occupant can stay in the chair while riding. As stated earlier, grants are being written and volunteer efforts and donated funds are being sought. They've had pizza and t-shirt sales and other activities. Businesses or individuals can donate or sponsor at different levels, and they'll be recognized on social media and with signs at Longfellow Park when the playground is complete. April is hopeful the new playground can be built in the summer of 2023.
There are some kids out there on a time limit that may never get to see this playground built, and that's not what I want. I want all children to be able to see this playground.
The city of Washington is home to several beautiful parks. April tells us why Comforting Hearts wants the new playground located in Longfellow Park.
It's because we have Washington Intermediate right over here that used to be Lena Dunn, and they have a lot of children from Davies and Martin counties that have different abilities. And I thought, how great would it be for them to bring their kids here as a field trip one day and let them play with no barriers.
I just want people to know that kids with wheelchairs and all of these disabilities, they can do more than just sit on the sidelines. They can watch and play.
And what does Katie want to play on when the new playground is built?
The teeter-totter, the merry-go-round. I just want to play on everything so I can be happy.
The Comforting Hearts All-Inclusive Playground Group will be hosting a silent auction on November 19th at Eastside Park in Washington. Free will donations will be accepted. Those attending will receive a meal and games will be available for the kids. All proceeds will be going towards the playground. To find out more about donating or getting involved, you can visit our website, vincentspbs.org.